Hi, this is Bob Iaccino coming to you from the CME Group trading floor in a very cold Chicago on the last trading day of 2017, and we get a quiet finale in the S&P 500 futures. Goes out with a whimper. It's been a very, very quiet day. Essentially, we finished unchanged. Not a lot of volume. You could hear a pin drop in the pits. You see very low volume again, as I mentioned, about 85% of what a normal S&P volume day would be. So if there were a large move today, which there wasn't, we wouldn't really put a lot into that move. The year-to-date performance on the S&P since this is the last day ends up right around 20%. Just not total returns, but just percentage change from the start of the year to the end. That's a pretty good move, but it was the weakest of the three indices. Dow Jones actually ended up just under 26%, and the NASDAQ right around 28.5%. But anytime you have a two-handle in front of that year-to-date performance, so remember, that is without reinvestment of dividends. That's a very, very good move. Particularly impressed with the 25% move on the Dow Jones, and we expect the S&P, at least early on, the S&P and the Dow Jones, to probably outperform the NASDAQ going into the new year because of rotations out of these high-flying NASDAQ stocks and into more of the material stocks with the rally we've seen in commodities lately and into some consumer discretionary with the minimum wage increases and the bonuses we've seen based off the Trump tax plan. We expect wages to rise, but all bets could be off depending on how January begins. The futures market actually was interesting today because the S&P futures market actually made a new all-time high. Cash did not. The March futures contract jumped up early on to an all-new-time high and then pulled back again toward unchanged. Now, one thing to keep in mind going into January for the S&P 500, we have a non-farm payrolls number January 5th, first Friday of January, and that particular number will dictate how the day goes, and that day will generally dictate how January goes. And January tends to dictate how the rest of the year goes. So keep an eye on the Friday close next week, but otherwise unchanged here on the S&P 500 futures, 20% plus on all three indices this year. This is Bob Iaccino talking S&P futures. Happy New Year from myself and the traders at the CME Group.